What are some not so fun facts? Roughly 40% of murders go unsolved. I love Tom Segura's bit about the first 48. Here's all I'm saying. I can't tell you where to go. I can tell you where not to go. Wherever they filmed the first 48 on AE. Oh, if you're not familiar with the show, here's what it is. Camera crews follow real homicide detectives for the first 48 hours after a murder. And the reason that time distinction is so important is that after 48 hours, they give up on that murder. They're like, that's some old shit. What do you want to do today? You're like, how about you keep trying to solve that murder? Man, that shit happened on Monday. It's Wednesday. We are not gonna solve that shit. Really? I got a picture of you hanging out with Dickie shoes. I mean, I seen him. I don't know him. And then they'll throw one bit of evidence against the wall, hoping it'll solve the case. They'll be like, well, we were talking to Noah Haramian, and he said that you were at the 7-Eleven last week. And he'll be like, yeah, I shot him in the face. And you're like, got him. Really? That's all it took to break you? Dude, lie for longer. You're more likely to survive being shot in the head than rabies. Rabies was a big thing in the Philippines back in the 90s. We had a hospital dedicated for it, and there were so many sad on TV showing rabies victims tied to bed convulsing, screaming, and foaming in the mouth. It made me not trust dogs for a long time. When I got bitten by a dog, I cried and started saying my goodbyes to my loved ones. My mom was a nurse, so she got me taken care of. That shit is scary. Damn. I live here, and I didn't know that. But yeah. All the stories made me think twice about running from dogs though. I just walk at a brisk pace and get ready to punch them when they bite. There's a wasp in Australia that hunts spiders. It doesn't eat them, though. It paralyzes them, makes a little mud cocoon for each one, and before sealing it off, lays a single egg on the now trapped spider. The egg hatches. The larva eats the still alive and still paralyzed spider, and then breaks out of the cocoon as a wasp. It turns out they're all over the world, not just Australia. If you see a wasp dragging a spider, that's what's going on. I saw one of them once. I worked at a childcare, and we saw one drag a huntsman across the playground and then up the fence. Ducker also then stung a teacher. People joke about Australia having dangerous animals of all kinds. However, no, one enemy to Australians is the Sunday. Australia has the highest skin cancer rate in the world. An average Australian is 4 times likely to get skin cancer than any other type of cancer. And 2/3 of Australians will probably get it by the age of 70. Wasn't there a whole advertising campaign about this where the message was, hey Aussies, don't worry, wearing sunscreen doesn't make you gay. There was a whole slap campaign where you slip on a shirt, slop on sunscreen, and slap on a hat. But taken out of context I can see how it could sound like gay sex. About 50 kids in the US are backed over by cars every week. At any time, your body could make a mistake while fighting an infection virus and register a vital type of cell as unwanted for the rest of your life. Source: I never have enough platelets anymore. Welcome to the autoimmune family. We have several subs. Male anglerfish are rarely spotted in the wild and took a long time to find at all. Eventually, they were discovered latched onto the females, and one of them can't remember if the male or the female releases an enzyme to break down the male body, leaving only his testes that she can now use when she needs them for babies. The chainsaw was originally invented to aid in childbirth for cutting through the pelvic bone. No, I'm not kidding. The introduction of helmets to the military actually caused a surge in head injuries. This is because those injuries used to be deaths, but now more people were surviving them, albeit injured. Similar to the helmet fact, boxing gloves make boxing far more dangerous because punching full force into a bony face barnacle also damages your hand and wrist. After body slams were banned, there were no in-the-ring deaths in bare-knuckle boxing. Gloves made headshots much easier, resulting in tons of brain injury that wasn't happening before. Shiro Ishii, Director of Unit 731 who tortured, experimented on and murdered 600,000 innocent civilians was paid the equivalent of $3 million adjusted for inflation by the US government for his research papers and granted him complete immunity. The worst live among us and that's terrifying. Edit loving the hundreds of notifications. Also I'm old and don't get half of these Among Us jokes aha. Orcas can skin penguins. They also skin seals and sea lions. The way they do it is by tail flicking them to the ducking moon, not really that far, but they do launch them like 150 feet up in the air sometimes. If I remember correctly, when they do this, the landing force will tear the skin off the animal. And why do they do this? Apparently, for fun. Edit here's link how they do it. That Sam missed 96% of contraband during an inspection in 2015. I have a backpack that I use for camping, but also take it on trips. I have to remember to remove all of the potentially suspicious items from the bag when I fly. But one time I forgot a huge ducking knife in there. They didn't even notice. This has happened to me a lot. I used to fly frequently and use my backpack daily. So many times I forgot I had shears or a box cutter in there and they only ever found them once. They found every half-empty water bottle I had. Just not the potential weapons. They're hyper focused on liquids it seems. And miss a ton of other stuff. Went through security with a Cadbury Sea Army egg once. They noticed there was a liquid in the bag and spent a while looking for it, but couldn't figure out what the liquid was, so they just gave up. In the late 19th and first half of the 20th century, citation needed, doctors were taught that babies did not experience pain and were treating their young patients accordingly. From needle sticks to tonsillectomies to heart operations were done with no anesthesia or analgesia, other than muscle relaxation for the surgery link. Jacques Villeneuve, F1 World Champion 1997, is the only driver's champion in history not to have another driver die during their F1 career. It's a good job his music isn't an F1 driver. Pluto didn't even make a full orbit of the sun from its discovery to its demotion. I read demotion as demolition, and for a second I actually believed we blew up Pluto. Oh no, we've decided Pluto isn't a planet anymore. Well, light it up. Diarrhea kills 2195 children every day more than AIDS, malaria, and measles combined. Link. Today I learned diarrhea can be deadly. Yeah, it drains you of your fluids often faster than they can be replaced in parts of the world, and in many places. The water is what's giving you diarrhea in the first place. Shit go in the water. Water go in the cup. Cup go to the thirsty. Blood come out the butt. During the bubonic plague, the Mongolians launched infected dead bodies over the walls of different civilizations. Bioweapons. Yep. History's first recorded use of it. The Black Death originally came from China and the Mongols spread it not only to Europe, but also the Middle East. Though the Middle East fared a lot better than Europe. Ironically though, the Black Death wiping, put between 1/3 and 1/2 of Europe, forced the social changes that brought about the Renaissance and the Age of Enlightenment, which brought about European domination of the globe for centuries. Some tumors grow teeth and hair. I had one. It was 10 pounds. Had sweat glands. 5 teeth. Hair. Half a spinal cord and muscles. Grew in 6 months on my ovary. And right before I got married. Not fun. Don't recommend. Every cruise ship has a morgue. My brother-in-law works on a cruise ship that retired people live on full time after they sell their houses and move in. About 700 passengers. It just keeps sailing around the world. They have 4 body compartments in their morgue, and at least one person dies every voyage. 95% of whale semen is dumped into the ocean during mating. From Mobistic. The leading cause of death in Burundi are diarrheal diseases. That in all likelihood you will be forgotten after 2 generations. Movies etc. don't portray drowning people very accurately. This has led to a common misconception of what a drowning person actually looks like. Since a lot of people don't really know what to look for, a large number of tragic incidences of children drowning while swimming occurred with the child's parents right there, close by, near enough to save them. If only they had realized before it was too late. Edit, oh my. That's more upvotes than I've ever gotten before. Thank you all. My deepest sympathies to anyone reading this discussion who has lost someone to drowning. My little niece drowned 10 years ago. Positive vibes. To those of you who shared your stories of barely escaping the water, I'm sorry you had to go through that. But I hope the experience produced some relatively good thing in your life, a deeper appreciation for the gift of life. If nothing else, best wishes to all of you. In World War II, Allied scientists stuffed dead rats with explosives to aid French resistance fighter who would leave them in factories to be thrown in furnaces and detonated. That's only really an odd fun fact if you're a Nazi though. There's lots of butthole answers on here. So here's another one. Persistent hiccups can be stopped with a digital rectal massage, a finger up the ass. That seems more like an analog message. Not gonna Reddit this. Hope you guys enjoy the image and someone talking into an anus like it's a rotary telephone. The fun at pose that an anteater does. Yeah, that's Mr. Anteater telling you he's seconds away from literally disemboweling you with one swipe. Next time you see an anteater doing the funny pose, just remember they are trying to give you a free C-section with one singular claw slash. Next time you see an anteater. Only time I've seen one is in a zoo. Right. This MF talking like he walks by anteater herds on the daily. Judith Barcy, the young actress who voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time, was murdered along with her mother by her abusive father. She was only 10 years old at her death. Her gravestone is adorned with Ducky's catchphrase, "Yep, yep, yep." There are 8 American warheads unaccounted for, and a number of former Soviet nuclear devices missing, ranging from warheads to suitcase bombs. Sea otters have been observed raping baby juvenile seals and sometimes killing them in the process. Otters will also drown and then rape other otters. So they are rapists, murderers, and necrophiliacs. A whale's dick is about 10 feet long and 12 inches wide when erect. That's about 3 meters long and 30 centimeters wide. And that is just on average. Male porcupines fight for their mates by peeing on each other. Porcupines also poop where they sleep, so if you find a porcupine home at the base of a hollowed out tree, there's likely a large pile of fezzes there. Oh, let's talk about medieval torture facts. There's one form of torture where they would tear your tongue out by slowly twisting it. Another, having bamboo grow through your body, stuffing you into a bronze bull statue, and then lighting a fire under it. You were slowly cooked alive in the worst way possible. Another, similarly, you were cooked from the inside out. The way one would accomplish this was by pouring molten lead down your throat and stuffing you with straw. Another, one would have a small hole in their stomach cut open and pull out one end of your intestine and tie it to a stake. You were then put on a cot and carried around the stake in circles while your intestine slowly unraveled. That's all for today, folks. Dentists have the highest suicide rate of all doctors. The number 1 cause of death for pregnant women worldwide is murder. Horrific to think about. False vacuum decay. The entire universe could blink out of existence in, from our perspective, an instant. Okay, so all of my knowledge about this subject can be summed up to one Kurzgesagt video, but doesn't that shit spread at the speed of light? So like, could have a false vacuum reaction going on one edge of our galaxy, but it's gonna take like 100k light years to get to us. Right. Correct. That's also why it could have happened 99.999k years ago and we wouldn't know it. From our perspective, all the lights go out at once. It could be coming for us right now and we'd have no way of knowing. Here is another cool thought. It could have occurred at a point that is expanding from us at faster than the speed of light. In other words, if it's traveling at the speed of light, it will never reach us. There are points in the universe, in a large radius around us, that because of the universe expanding, we can never reach, because the expansion of the universe is faster than the speed of light between us and anything outside of that radius. Anything outside of that radius is gone forever, to include a false vacuum decay event. Animals can suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder. The rape of Nanking. No facts about anything pertaining to it are an easy read for anyone with a weak stomach. I have no idea if this is true. But in a documentary about the Rwanda genocide, one of the people interviewed said a neighborhood would gather together and switch husbands every night. When attackers came at night and made fathers rape daughters or sons rape mothers, it wasn't as traumatic because it was your neighbor pretending to be your husband, father, son. The interviewee said they learned the practice from Nanking immigrants. Elephants can die from broken hearts when their mate's companions die. Example: when Damini lost her companion. Champakali link. Baton Rouge has a higher rate of HIV transmission than any country in Africa. It's also where LSU is. Thank you, your dad thinks in cool for the correction. Absolute perfect health is merely the slowest rate at which you are dying. But you are the best kind of specimen. Best meat there is up until you die, as opposed to some less quality sources. Every cloud has a silver lining. Except, of course, the mushroom shaped ones. Those have strontium 90. If you punch someone in the heart right in the middle of a heartbeat, you can stop the heart. A gorilla's skull is on average 2 inches or less. Guess what? Human males on average pack 4-5 inches. Which is more firepower than a gorilla. Congrats. You live for about 27,000 days. Ted Cruz is younger than Gwen Stefani. A woman's cancer cells were preserved and found to be practically immortal. This led to a ton of discoveries and breakthroughs in the medical field. Her family still cannot afford their own medical bills, and this was all done without their knowledge or consent. Edit: I had figured I'd just make a mini summary, but this has gained a lot of views. Her name was Rita Lacks. She died in 1951 from cancer. She was black and very poor and didn't get great care in the hospital. A doctor had been looking for cells that lasted longer and harvested her cells, separating the cancerous and healthy cells. The healthy cells died, while the cancer cells seemingly never stopped replicating. Her cells are named HeLa cells and have replicated so many times apparently they'd weigh a total more than 50 million metric tons. A pseudonym for her has been Helen Lane. She didn't know her cells were taken, and neither did her family until way later. The family has been through a lot. If you want to know more, I highly suggest reading The Immortal Life of Rita Lacks. I couldn't put the book down. There apparently is also a movie about her life. And Frank and Martin Luther King Jr. were born in the same year. Donald J. Trump, George Bush Jr., and Bill Clinton were born in the summer of the same year as well. That is likely because it was 1946 and people were having a lot of after World War II sex. Edit: added a missing space character. The number of people older than you only decreases. A dolphin is more likely to rape than help or ignore you if you're drowning.